During his Nobel Peace Prize address in 1964, Martin Luther King said, "Almost 2/3 of the peoples of the world go to bed hungry at night. They are undernourished, ill-housed and shabbily clad. So it's obvious that if a man is to redeem his spiritual and moral lag, he must go all out to bridge the social and economic gulf between the haves and the have-nots of the world." It's 50 years since his words were spoken, and still they ring undeniably true. Poverty remains the calamity of our modern times. Yet individuals like Rose Molokoane are doing everything they can to fight it and to bring dignity and hope to the poor.
Hello, Mum Rose.
Hi, Lisa. How are you? Welcome to my house.
I've come all this way so you can finally teach me about savings.
You want to join the savings scheme?
I'm really bad. I was hoping you could help me.
No, I will make you to understand. I will teach you and you'll join it.
Rose is the director of an organization called FedUp, the Federation of the Urban and Rural Poor. Their mission is to encourage people to start saving schemes to help them acquire land, build houses and take control of their lives.
Lisa, we have built several houses on this street, and then some of the houses we have built them by ourselves. This is one of the houses.
Yeah.
Also this one is
Wow.
one of them.
No, what's interesting is that because you had the savings, you could go with a nice collection of money
Yes.
and speak to the local authority and get houses for people
Yes.
who may never have got houses or may
Exactly.
not even have been on a list.
Exactly. That's
bargaining
the
power.
important part. Good, Lisa, it's a buying. Welcome to one of the Federation members' house.
Cool. Hello, I'm Lisa. Hi.
After re aga, o sa le wa fila bjang fela. Wa itse ka nako engwe re no aga, a re itse gore batho ba ikutlwa bjang ka a ba rate ka moko ra hileng gore bjang.
Okay. Now after go agiwa ke fitse happy because before ne re le mo mokhukhung re se le ra tlhatlhamolla ka mo re se le ra nna motsotlegong re nna ka mo next door but ka support ya OCC and then ntho nka le botsang yona I'm an orphan but OCC se lampa support gore re feletse re greile ntlu e because go sna di parents in the house.
Fantastic. How does it feel?
I'm very happy. I'm very happy.
We want to give pride to our people.
Yeah.
I know.
How many houses have you built through FedUp?
In Okasi,
In the whole of South Africa?
more than 30,000
Oh, my word.
that we have built.
Okasi is a settlement on the outskirts of Brits, a small town 90 kilometers northwest of Johannesburg. It was established in the early 1930s to house migrants seeking work in the town's industrial area close by. Rosa's parents were part of that community, working menial jobs until they managed to start a brick-making company and build a decent home for themselves and their kids. They also built homes for many others in Okasi.
So here we are going to my mother and my father's home. It is very old. And then we were still very, very young because they are coming from Limpopo.
Yeah.
And they arrived at one of the farms. It's a bit far from here. So when Okasi started to be erected, then they became part and they started to produce bricks. And they sold for a lot of people who are staying here in Okasi, who built their houses almost 50 years ago.
And still standing, eh?
Still standing. This is my home, my father's house and my mother's house. We are doing everything. When we've got big events, we do it at home. My home was built out of the bricks that my father and my mother did. And I want you to see those bricks. That's 50 years old. I was born in 1960, on the 11th of November. We were 10. 2 girls, 8 boys. The boy that I've come after, his name is Booty. and my name is Sesi. Then I asked my father, why did you call me Sesi and this one Booty? Yes, because you are the sister of all your brothers. I liked it so much.
What else?
When I was 10 years, my mother died. Every time when somebody talks about their mother or they scold me, your mother is dead, I will cry. I was crying. I think I cried for many years because I said, who should I call mommy now?
I'm just Rose, her sister. Actually, she's my sister, my mom. She's everything to me. When I grew up without knowing my mom, but I knew my mom has been Rose. So Rose must do the dishes while we are playing. She was carrying us on her back. She cooks. She goes to school. She comes, she must wash. She never enjoys her life as a young person.
Then my father said, I promised their mother that I will take care of them. And then after that, he went to work with the factories. During break time, they give them tea. He will put the tea in the bottle and bring some bread back home. And then we have to share. But when we share, my last-born brother should be the one to eat first. If you go hungry, don't worry, as long as the small children have eaten. Sometimes I will go to school without shoes, and it is cold, no jersey. But we didn't see the suffering because we were just together. We loved each other and we had a lot of friends. Then afternoon, we know Papa is coming back. Go home, go home. When he comes here, he will beat us and say, you are playing in the house, blah, 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 blah. Then I will prepare the food and my father, when he comes, give him the food. When he goes to sleep, we sneak out to go and see our boyfriends.
So you were naughty, but you were also quite shy and studious. You were a good student.
We were very, very naughty. Sometimes when I'm sitting alone, I said, how did I come what I am today? Because some of the girls, when they lose their parents, they just give up on life. But for me, I liked to go to school. I made sure that my father pays for my school fees.
Ah, you got a box for us. Yay.
So yesterday I was choosing these ones. My father is here.
Oh, that's Dad. What was your father's name?
Simon. And then this one was the brother.
What was his name, your brother?
Abel. He was running his shaving. This house was a shaving. You see this photo? These two guys were the customers. And it's me here. I was one of the best person to sell beer in my home and to bring best music for the people.
Me and Rose were taught to be DJs. We're the ones swapping. If I'm not in tonight, Rose will stay the whole night. And then he taught us how to be businesslike. So he was trying to do a lot for, especially we girls.
Abel was a protective older brother and businessman, but there was more to him. He'd become highly politicized in the mid-1980s, at the time that South Africa's state of emergency was declared.
He was an activist. He was one of the committee of August when we were fighting evictions. And the committee was called Brett's Action Committee.
You see the area where we are now. The soil condition and the setup is next to town. Everything is nice. So the old government, they wanted to take us to a place called Letlabile, which is close to 30 to 35 kilos away from town. We refused to go in there. We said we are here to stay.
Now the house as a whole, in unison, say no, they don't want to go to Letlabile. Now if they are to go to Letlabile, anybody around the world will have to know that they have been forced.
And then Abel came with a concern. Let's come up with an action committee that will lead this community. So he already knew the lawyers for human rights, the legal resource center, the West Campus Law Clinic. So from there we could not struggle. We knew where to go to look for any assistance.
One day he called us and said, you are my only two sisters who are following my path of politics. And with you, I'm very proud. Even if I die, I will know that somebody will be doing the work that I was doing.
So what happened to your brother?
Then it was on Thursday when he said he's visiting to Letlabile. It was 1991 in June. He left home on Thursday saying that he's visiting his friends. So Thursday, he didn't come back home. Friday, he didn't come back home. Saturday and Sunday. Then we got the message in the afternoon of Sunday saying that your brother has been killed and thrown in the bush. Right? They threw him here, meaning that he was here for almost 3 days. Then on the third day, that's when we found out that he was dead. My other brothers came running and they found him lying with his head on the ground. I got so sick. I couldn't talk because, I don't know, I loved my brother so much.
Do you think his activism caused his death?
Through the Brett's Action Committee, where my brother was part of that committee, started to fight. It ended up in High Court. And during the time when we were going to this court, that's when he was killed. Every time when I drive here to go to Letlabile, I tell the people I hate this place. I hate this place with all my heart. I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. Sometimes when I talk about it, I feel like crying. My brother Ali. Where you are with your spirit, drive us to do it the way you wanted. You go to God, tell God to give me the wisdom to continue doing this.
Did you hear about the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete? Proving nature's laws wrong, it learned to walk without having feet. Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from the concrete when no one else cared. This poem by Tupac could have been written for Rose. Pushing through the heartbreak of her brother's death, she took up the baton and continued his work, fighting for the community of Okasi. Once committed, her life would begin to unfold in ways she'd never imagined.
Libidza bokhotsi muhulu na bokhotsi munene bomakhatsi na bomalume bothapha boedelawo bavule mato va ri naverese ri ni vadulu va vone phashangoni va songomangala namusi ro gwada marichamba na avele u vutungu nga manda ndi ri na mati khaya vanwisane vothe vadzimu va nga votangana vona avele ro ḓo gwada mahafha ri chamba navo inwi na muthu henefha ri a humbela zwo ri vha ye kha vadzimu vothe vha vha ḓivhadze zwo ri hoyu mushumo ri u itaho ndi mushumo wavho vadzimu vo ri khethela zwo ri ri u ita phashangoni ri shumele vhathu
a si bvelele a vona harene zwoṱhe ri khou dzumela kha vhone vhane na ine mukhanyisiri dzi nḓila dzoṱhe vhadzimu hashu amba
ka leina la rara la mora la moya o boitshepo ame
After her brother Abel's murder, the opportunity to continue his legacy presented itself almost immediately when Rose found a job at a car factory in Brits.
In February, when I was at work, that's when the people wanted to start striking. Then I said, did you join the union? They said, no. Then I said, you know, if they say they are taking you out of this company, you will never come back. and there's no union that will represent you. Huh? What should we do now? I said, no, let's just stand like here singing. If it's 5 minutes ultimatum, then we can go back and work. And then one of you who know where the union office is, today when we get off, the person should go and collect some forms, then we should come and fill. Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do it that way. Because we have to choose an interim committee that will negotiate with the organizer. And everyone will say, we choose Rose Molokoane to be the chairperson. I said, no, guys, I'm only 1 month in your company. How am I going to represent? No, we want you to represent us.
Rose became the shop steward for the factory. She was also a mother living with son Kopano and his father in a shack in Okasi.
They called me one day in their office, Rose, we want to give you an increase of 20 cents. And I thought I'm not the only one in the company. So I agree with the increase, but take that 20 cents, divide it into 1 cent, 1 cent, 1 cent to all the employees in the factory. Rose, are you playing with your opportunity? I said, no, I'm not playing. I don't want to become a sellout. After being a shop steward, the owner of the company used to hire and fire. I stopped every hire and fire from then. I said, no, guys, we have to sit down and talk instead of you dismissing the people. I don't know how to sing, but I liked singing. When we go to the meetings, they like to sing. I will be, Amandla. I started to be brave and to follow this very strongly. In the bars, I will be singing. And then when I sing, everyone will stand up. So, oh, I'm there, I know it now. So it started to build my confidence. And then I became a very strong leader in the union. They asked me to become their chairperson in the shop steward committee. Then I say, yes, I took a leap of faith to say, I will lead you. Then I did it.
The trade union movement swept across the country and was a force to be reckoned with in the drive for workers' rights. As the chairperson of the Shop Steward Committee, Rose took the brunt of employer resistance and was eventually dismissed. She started travelling between Okasi and Johannesburg buying and selling goods, but always kept tabs on her former colleagues and their struggles at work. She was making a living, but something was missing.
After I was dismissed from the factory, I volunteered at the union office. And every week on Wednesday, the women will come there and want me to teach them about the union. Then I can realize that some of them don't know how to read and write. I said, but there's a need to do something. And that thing drove me to say, there is this night school in other areas. Why can't we start it here at home? We've got a lot of mamas and papas here who don't know how to read and write. We can do something so that Okasi can be seen as a community that is doing something from its people. This is our night school. Was the administrator of this school voluntarily. The school say, there were over 50, 60, 70 Mara, they were attending this school. Today, most of them baisovala di bebele, baisovala makwalo, sirile something in Okasi. But Baba benefited them from the school. Oh, I'm happy when kiba bona ba bua school, kiba bona ba me mole ba la baby. It was a bit heavy when I grew up because I didn't have the mother who can mentor me. But because I was attending the church, People like Mom Rebecca noticed my upbringing. And then sometimes she will say, you know, I always remember the time when you come to church with your brother at your back, having no shoes, being very cold. I notice you loving the church so much.
Sesi mama hahe o mosile ba le banyane thata. Mara ba na tlhomola pelo. Most of the people ha ba mo tlhaloganye, nna ke a mo tlhaloganya sesi. Ke a mo rata, ke a mo utlwisisa. O etsa gore batho ba tsoge. Le kereke o etsa gore the kereke must work, the church must work.
She taught me how to respect elder people. And she taught me that even if you don't have your own mother, there are some people out there who are looking at you, how you grow, and who are having that love in their heart. Since I went to the Catholic school, she was always there. I was also a volunteer at our civic organization, answering calls, sending the memos out, cleaning the office, making tea for the chairperson.
And then there was a 5-day workshop that changed your life.
The Catholic Bishops' Conference have arranged this workshop. It's called People's Dialogue.
The People's Dialogue workshop brought leaders from poor communities around the world together under one roof. They came up with community-led solutions to problems related to land and shelter, solutions that did not rely on government. It was here that Rose met Jochen Arputham, a charismatic leader of the Indian delegation. Meeting Jochen would have a profound effect on her life.
Jochen called me to the page and said I should come and read the Bible. But when I was standing there, I said, all these people, how are they looking at me? I was very shy. But when we went to group discussions, it was a very small group. That's where I was telling people, why should I bother to join this kind of an organization? In South Africa, we are getting everything for free. Then Jochen heard me saying that. He said, what do you say? Do you think when Mandela gets out of jail, he will do everything for you? The Indians, we went to vote for a democratic government and we expected honey and milk on the street because our president is now an Indian. But after 40 years, my girl, we didn't get anything. After 40 years, they were sharing a toilet, 800 people standing on a queue. 800 people sharing one toilet. I said, no, I've never seen this in my life. I wish I can see that. Then he said, do you want to come to India? Then I said, yeah, I want to see these people standing on a queue.
A year later, Rose went to India as part of a learning exchange between South African informal settlement leaders and their Indian counterparts.
The whole family took me to the airport because this is the first person from the family who will get into the flight going overseas. I was pinching myself. Is it me going overseas? The overseas that I always see on the map, am I going to see it literally? I was crying, I was nervous, but we went 9 hours to India.
Shop steward turned activist for the poor, Rose Molokoane, had travelled to India on an exchange program to learn about a unique saving scheme initiated by women in India's poorest communities. It was Rose's first trip overseas, and she and her colleagues were intrigued to find out how the Indian woman did it. They wanted to replicate the model in South Africa as a means of uplifting their communities.
When we enter the city of Bombay, there's a lagoon, and it was so filthy and smelly. Whilst we were walking, Along the pavements, women are sleeping there with their children, their husbands, they are cooking there, they are doing the washing there. We ended up crying, all of us, to see the kind of life that the people are having. In one of the days, we have to go and do the daily saving with these old mamas, going house to house. So when you give the money and the book, she will turn to me. Loan repairment. Huh? Loan repairment. So I have to catch quickly, what is it? Okay, loan repayment. 10 rupees, 5 rupees. But when we get to this office, there was this tall cabinet, filing cabinet. When they open, money falls. I said, you know, guys, in South Africa, you will never put money like this. People could have stolen it long ago. They said, no, it's our money. Why should we steal it? We have built trust amongst each other. So that's the thing that struck me, the trust, the love, the transparency that they have with their finances. And I said, are we really going to do it in that kind of South Africa, where there's a lot of crime, people stealing money, people robbing other people, and the stokvels that are not surviving? Do you think we can do it? Then we all said, let's go and try.
When Rose returned from India, she was a changed woman. She'd seen a model working in a country where conditions were far worse than in South Africa. Home would pose its own challenges, but the model was too good to ignore. So Rose and her colleagues set to work, using savings to encourage confidence in poor people, especially women, so that they could take the responsibility of improving their lives into their own hands.
We said, let's bring the women together, because women are well-organized men. They know how to run the stokvels. When they've got the burial societies, they always come together. At home, they are the one taking care of the home. But being poor, they become demoralized to say, I'm giving up on life. But with our federation, we brought them together and say, let's do the savings so that the world can see that we are also part of the world, so that we can build confidence amongst ourselves, so that we can build future for our children. Amandla! Eita, Northwest Eita. Eita! Obua monake rakadi sesi Rose Molokoane. Kasi saving scheme. Buka ya kaya saving. I explained to them the model of saving, that in India, they are saving 1 rand, 10 cents, 20 cents. Oh, such a little amount of money. How are we going to reach out to get a house? Because you say it's a housing saving scheme. They said, no, we better start with 50 rand. We agreed again to come at the end of the month. One mama brought 50 rand. All of them didn't have even a cent. Then I said, okay, let's go back to that 1 rand. The little money that we are having can create big money. Because we said, if we are 10, we save 1 rand each. How much is it? 10 rand. If we are 20, it's 20 rand. Per week, it will be how much? 200 rand. Per month, it will be a lot. And then with that, we have now to look at development, developing ourselves, our children, our family, our neighborhood, our communities, making government to listen to us.
Mrs. Mwati, Okasi Federation Scheme. Sesika 1992, that's na gola. A former mokgatlo o wa Federation 1992. Ra tsena mo teng, ra sebetsa le sesi, ne we only le 5 fela. Sesi a hodisa mokgatlo a hodisa nna ne ke le treasure ya go vuka ra ga dintlo self re foroma mo tlase ka sesi Molokoane.
The poor people has taken control of their own development, has really organized themselves into a strong community that decides the type of life that they want to drive. And the most important part of it is of coming together, saving together, being a community, deciding on how to manage finance, on how to give loans to each other, especially the driving force being the women.
Viva saving, viva! Viva! Amandla! Phansi ngokuhlupheka phansi! Phansi ngokuhlupheka phansi! Viva Rose Molokoane, viva!
Ke qadile ho tseba Rose ka 1993. Rose o ile a tla ko dipolekeng tsa rona a fitla a re hlalosetsa ka mogala. So o ile a re ruta hore re ko bathong re lo kopana le batho, and then ha re kopane le batho re kgone ho ba organized. Ha re ba organizitse re kgone hore ba tjhentjha maphelo a bona, especially batho ba hlophehang ba dulang ko mekhukhung. O ile a re ruta hore re ithute ho respecta batho, and then re ithute hore re ithute maphelo a batho before re qala hore re tlo bua le batho. Most ya batho ba ne ba dula ko mekhukhung ba ne bana ba rata ho etsa ditoitoi ha ba batla government ya ba utlwe. So through Rose o ile a re bontsha hore ha re batla ho lwa le government ho betere re le bona re le mo tafoleng, and then re hlahisa di-issue, because ha re ya ko strateng ha re solve di-problem e leng hore dintho tse ngata ha di etsahala ka hare ho mokgatlo. Ke yena ne re kopa advice ho yena, and then o na sa kgathale la ne re mo bitsa every day. Aim ya rona ko hore re meeta government le di-donor half away ho ba bontsha hore we are poor but we are not hopeless.
Poor people are so proud of themselves because today they know how to talk about their own life issues and to use their natural skills in order to come up with a way of eradicating homelessness, landlessness and poverty.
And mo tirong ya setsi all the time ga ntse a gola ra forma mokgatlo wa federation ke re yanong godile o tswile mo boteyang o itshotse pila until a fitlhe mo aging ya bogolo, and then a fitlhela a re bontshe lerato la go direla batho.
The South African Homeless People's Federation brought together nearly 55,000 households and more than 1,200 savings collectives from 750 homeless communities nationwide. Rose threw herself into the work of the Federation, but it would take time away from her family and cause rifts in her personal life. She realized that sacrifice was at the heart of leadership.
Kopano is here. My son, Kopano, is here. Very naughty one. We stayed for several years with Kopano's father. We had a very beautiful shack. I loved him. At the time when I started with the Federation, then Kopano's father became angry to me and saying, no, I don't want a wife who's traveling a lot. He was even a shop steward. And I said, when you go to your meetings, I don't complain who you are meeting with, because there are a lot of women and men. And then in this work, I don't travel for men. I just travel to help the poor. But he didn't want to understand that. So that's when I decided to say, I better go home, because maybe we were not meant to be together. Our ideology is not the same.
It was in 93 when I was 10, and that's when the Federation started a lot. So she was always going wherever with this Federation thing of hers. I'm the only son to her, and then she was always away. Even though she was trying to be close to me, the chance was not there.
So there was no bond that was very strong, unlike the bond from Kopano and my brother and my younger sister. And they didn't have a problem. They just said, no, leave her with us. He's our child.
Did you resent your mom being away so much?
In the beginning, I'm like, okay, she's traveling now. So I didn't get it exactly what are these people doing. But on the pictures that we saw from India, there were painful pictures of people sleeping on the street. So that taught me a lot to appreciate what I have now. And then I ended up thinking, okay, that means this woman, where she goes, she's trying to help the people.
He is my son and he knows that I'm the mother because we were at home together. But he was too much with my brother and his wife more than with me. So I didn't see anything wrong. I just said we are one family and they allow me to do my thing. They give me space to do what they think will survive me in life.
With the blessing of her family and representing the Federation, Rose began to travel the world sharing the savings model with other communities. The idea was to mobilize a network of shack and slum dwellers and put power back into the hands of the poor. Rose Molokoane had transformed from shop steward to powerhouse community leader. Now her work saw her collaborate with mentor and old friend Jochen Arputham. Together with others, they founded Shack and Slum Dwellers International, the world's first global poor people's movement. With its programs and interventions, it's emboldened the destitute during hard times and lobbied at the highest levels, reminding world leaders that billions of poor people are a constituency that cannot be ignored.
So who are you going to introduce us to?
To Joachim Arputham, the president of Shack Dwellers International. The old men who have given birth to this big organization in this whole world. Right here drinking a cup of tea.
Hello. I'm Lisa, how are you doing?
I'm fine.
I want to know what you thought of Rose when you first saw her.
I saw a skinny girl, very quiet, accompanied by two guys. She was like an angel. Here is a girl raised from the community, directly understand the policy, understand the program. She could replace any leadership and she could still be on the ground.
Shack and Slum Dwellers International is active in 33 countries. In 2014, Jochen and SDI were nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
I've traveled around the world for 25 years and I met different people like the Pope, Kofi Annan, Madiba, the list is countless. When we meet with these people, we always tell them about poverty and then about how SDI has built the poor people to stand up and be self-reliant, making these people realize that if they support the people whilst they are doing things for themselves, the world can change.
But no story comes without its challenges, and all organizations go through their ups and downs. After 10 years of tireless work and sacrifice, Rose Molokoane faced one of the toughest challenges of her life.
You were the chair of the South African Homeless People's Federation, and then there was a split and you formed FedUp, the Federation of the Urban and Rural Poor. But that split was, as I understand it, one of the biggest wrenches in your life.
This was the hardest time of my life. I didn't care that I can lose running around, going for exchanges, but I cared about what we promised the people, what we said the people will get at the end of the day when we are organizing them. I said, people are going to point fingers at me to say, what about our savings? I have to strategize with the leaders who remained with me to say, how can we make it successful? Because we don't want this organization to die.
Rose refused to quit, and in 2015 she and her colleagues launched FedUp, the Federation of the Urban and Rural Poor.
Seeing how we have turn it around, how the people have believed in Fed Up and contributing their last amount of money for the success of this organization. And I just worked hard. I'm so proud now because it's very, very strong.
Sandra, wat gaat aan nou? Wat doe je hier zo? How did the meeting go for Mod Foundation? What did they say?
No, they didn't give them opportunity to question.
Okay.
Especially how government works, because it's good on paper,
But I want us to come.
in this type of work, there's no way that you can divorce your personal life, which is a very unhealthy situation to be in. You listen to the news and there's a fire and an informal settlement has been, and it's 400 families, and it's 5,000 people, and you phone a leader to say, did you hear the settlement has been? What are you going to do about it? 10 o'clock at night, you're lying in bed and you think of something, and you will not hesitate to pick up the phone and call Rose and ask her, what do you think about us doing this? So I think subconsciously we all never stop, but Rose takes the cake. In this week, she leaves for Indonesia. She comes back, then she goes to Kenya. She comes back, then she goes to Ghana. So it's all the time. Last year, I personally filled out a leave form for 1 month. And I informed everybody she's on leave. I just couldn't get the SDI to switch off her phone.
Listen, they're all one by one. They will
To see her, you have to schedule time with her.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Even
like...
as a partner?
Yeah, definitely. We would say, no, this is time to America, India, Germany, Copano, Greg, whoever, the family.
We have been together for 21 years. I loved him so much, but he's a stubborn guy.
I was teaching at night school and she was the secretary there. And then I saw her beauty and came about and met her.
I remember I was standing in front of my house, and then here came Greg driving a blue bakkie with my brother. And then jokingly he said, you know, I love you. I said, then I didn't entertain him.
It wasn't easy. It took me about 6 to 7 months when she resisted what I was saying to her.
Oh, then he started, oh, I love you. I said, no, man.
I used all the tricks that I could in my life. And ultimately, she fell into the trap because I used enough, I used enough samp and meal to put on the floor for her to eat.
And I remember one day when he started to join the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, that's when he started traveling.
Sure.
Then he said, to be honest, I didn't trust you when you were saying you were traveling. I'm now starting to feel what you were feeling. Because immediately when we finish all our meetings, I'm so drained, I just go to the room and die. That's the thing that made our love to be more stronger. Trust.
When you spend time with Rose Molokoane, you understand why she's become such an influential leader. She has integrity and humility and an unwavering boldness to radically transform the life of the world's poor.
So we want to say, as Fed Up, we will also pledge another 10 million rand if the minister can add another 10 million rand, because that 10 million rand is too little. So if she can pledge...
I think it's a leap of faith, the evolution of my life. Being very shy, not knowing how to talk to people, finally getting into this big organization, knowing how to make noise, knowing how to tell the Pope what we want, knowing how to tell Kofi Annan how the United Nations have to support the poor people. Is it me? I don't know. Maybe it is somebody within me.
She teaches us to care. She teaches us to love. She teaches us to walk with dignity when things are tough. Now, what drives her is that she wants to see the community growing. That is very important. It was about the love for her community to do the work that she did.
Why was it important to you?
Hey, yeah, that one always made me cry. How should I put it? I have learned to be part of the poor community and to change my life and the people's life. I don't want to see anyone going to sleep without food. This organization has made me what I am today. I always cry when the old women say, you know, I got a house and it's because of you. And I always like to be with them more than with rich people.
Yeah.